The tavern is one of TTRPG's most quintessential locations. It has been around since the dawn of civilization. From old alehouses, taverns have been the backbone of humanity for such a long time that we should make sure to represent so in our own TTRPGs. Now, I'm not saying every tavern needs to end up having a wall history mural of ale creation and anything like that, but it is important that when we put taverns into our TTRPGs, we should make sure that we are giving a really good experience to our players. And that's the whole point of this video. Going to give some tips, some advice, classic storytelling tropes, talking all about taverns. So if you find any of this information very handy, or you end up liking any of these tips, please do feel free to end up giving this video a like. Please end up subscribing to the channel if you want more information like this, and ring the notification bell if you want to keep in touch and just sort of keep up to date with everything that's going on. Okay, that's the main shill done, so let's actually get into the video and why you clicked on this thing in the first place. Talking about taverns, because yeah, taverns are important. I don't just say it because of the hook for the video, they are literally the lifeblood of your towns in TTRPGs. Your players are always going to go there because of the simple case that it's a great way to gain information, and also just they want to rest, they want to relax. So taverns should really be this sort of nice refuge, this oasis of calm and serenity in an ocean of adventure. Let's end up running through a couple of scenarios, a couple of classics, and just characters that you're more than likely to meet. So starting off with characters, every tavern is going to be different depending on its size, depending on how much money it's going into it, and depending on where it is. But minimum characters that you're going to find in a tavern are going to be obviously the barkeep, and then patrons at the bar drinking drinks. That is the minimum, right? And it makes sense. And this is going to be for your small dive bars, probably out in the far countryside. But then you scale it up a bit. Maybe you've got some kitchen staff. Maybe you've got some bartenders helping out with drinks. And maybe you also have some waiting staff getting drinks and food to the customers. That is the step up, more found in sort of smaller towns. And then you end up getting into the taverns in big cities. And these take a complete different direction, because these things can be massive. And when I talk massive, I mean like you got a wizard to end up creating your own mini dimension of a tavern. That's how ridiculous games like Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, and other systems that involve magic can get. And so we need to end up populating it with characters that make sense for the location, turning the tavern not only into a bar, but also into things like a casino and a hotel. Because, yeah, there's going to be not only the bartender, the bar staff, there's going to be potentially cooks and cleaners. There's going to be concierges who end up making sure that everyone has a room. There's going to be gambling staff making sure that people are able to play games like dice and cards. And maybe there's even bar fighting arenas. Like, depending on how big you make the tavern and how important it is to the town, you could make this into a massive thing. And really, that's probably the best place to start off. Remember to scale your taverns appropriately to the location that they are in. If you're talking about a tavern that's in a small hovel and the outside of town, just miles away from the rest of civilization, it's probably going to be a small thing. But if you're in a capital, if you're in the capital of your setting, your location, you gotta make sure that you're pulling out all the stops for this. So yeah, make it big, make it grand, make it fun, because that's the whole point of a tavern. And if you make it really big, really grand, your players aren't going to want to leave, and depending on how big you make it, you can make a whole campaign in a tavern, which is mad, but really fun. Next up, we're just going to go over just some classic tropes, talking about taverns and some advice for when you're running them. Being the case that, yeah, you should probably end up, when you have a tavern coming into games, put on some music. Put on some lively music. Have some fun with it. Create that atmosphere. Have your players get to relax, listening maybe to some bardcore. If you haven't listened to it, I recommend it. You can find it on YouTube, much like you found this video. Bardcore is great because it's basically any music that we, outside of the TTRPG, end up liking to listen to, just with a fun sort of tavern theme going on with it. And you can mess with your players a bit by putting on songs that they would know, and it's just fun for background noise. Other than that, though, probably the most important thing, have some drinks, have some food. Like, this is a time where actually out of the game, you guys could have dinner or lunch or something while also playing. You as the DM don't need to focus that much on running a tavern scenario, so long as you don't have the main enthralling, gripping story hooks going on in that particular moment. This is the time where people could just be like drinking, rolling a couple of dice for fun, having a couple of bites to eat. It's a perfect spot for you guys to actually take a literal real world game break as well. So remember that one. But now let's end up getting into some storytelling tropes and just some classics that we know and love. Probably the most obvious, this is a quest information hub. This is the spot for your characters to gossip and gain all of that information about towns. It can help lead out into other quests, whether it's going to be about nobility, rising nations, war, rumors of dragons coming, or a hidden tomb being found. There's just so many spots where this is the point that your players gain the information of a new quest. However, it's also the spot that your adventurers may go to in the middle of the quest, because maybe their target has gone into the tavern, maybe they're a frequenter of this tavern or a nearby tavern, and you can ask some of the patrons to learn about this person very easily, at least learning what is their most common food and drink, and just sort of being able to sort of follow the patterns that this character is following. Aside from that, this is the spot to have the mysterious stranger burst in the middle of a stormy night with a big old cloak and just ready to give out a quest to your adventurers, requesting assistance, requiring some help. Very common in storytelling, for a good reason. It's a fun plot hook. And it is also the place where you get probably the most old school fashion video game trope of there's rats in the basement and I need some help. That's right, the Tavern Keep has got a rat problem and your adventurers are being hired to end up dealing with it. Now, don't get me wrong, yes, it's rats, not a big deal, but who says it has to be rats? No one says it has to be rats. It's the trope, but you can have fun with it. You can put whatever you want in the basement of this tavern, and you should, because if you're just starting off with rats, I mean, you could say they're rats. Your party's going to expect rats. It's not rats, and that's a problem, and now you got to deal with it. So, you know, have fun with that scenario. It is also the place where other adventuring parties may come in. Your adventuring party that you are running isn't going to be the only adventuring party in your world. Well, they might be, but probably not. And so you should probably occasionally, not frequently, maybe once or twice in an entire campaign, have an adventuring party show up in the tavern. Maybe they are less experienced than the party, maybe they're more experienced than the party, but this is a great time to end up introducing this other cast of characters doing their whole separate, different thing going on. Maybe they'll show up later into your stories, maybe they won't, but this is a great location to show them off, or even have people just talk about them, because it makes your world feel more alive and more lived in that there are other people doing their own things that isn't your party that they may never meet. It's just a fun way to really flesh out the location. Really, the only other things to really go over specifically in taverns is really give the place some life. Talk about the fireplace, the hearth, the heart of your tavern. What are people doing around it? Are people gathered by the fire, keeping warm? Are people using it as a light source to just flood the room with light and really bring in the liveliness? Is your bard playing music right beside it? It is a very important point in the tavern. And so, is it going to be a small fireplace off in the corner? Or is it going to be this massive, grand marble centerpiece that warms up the entire building? Like, there's lots of different ways to do it. And really, there is no right answer, but it is an important point to focus on. Because, yeah, when you're cold and weary and you're coming into a tavern, you want that warmth to fill you up. And the hearth is the thing that does it. And also, cleanliness is an important thing just to talk about. Gives a lot of inspiration, talks about a lot of important things. If a bar is spotless, it tells the players that, yeah, this is a well-maintained, well-run location. If it's not and it's grungy, maybe it's under new management, maybe the owner doesn't care. There's lots of different ways that you can take this. And really, it's just a small, subtle storytelling point, but it says a lot, mostly with what it doesn't say. You'll understand once you try it out. And one of the other things I want to talk about, because I don't want this video to go on forever, is combat. Because yeah, combat can happen in a tavern. Of course it can. Yes, it's a nice spot to relax, it's a nice place to recuperate. However, that doesn't mean it's safe. Maybe your party ends up getting into a fight with the other party in the bar. Maybe some patrons just end up getting into a fist fight out of nowhere. Maybe a dance competition ended up getting out of hand. Either way, eventually the fists could start flying in your tavern, and it's important that you end up being prepared for that. What does everyone do? Do patrons end up flipping over the bar tables to end up creating cover? Maybe people are hiding behind pillars. Is the bartender going to end up hiding behind all the drinks, or are they going to come out swinging because they've got some ex-adventuring in them? Are there guards already stationed in this tavern ready to deal with the situation? There's lots of different things, and combat is an important moment that can happen in your taverns, and I actually recommend it, especially if it is a tavern that your party frequents regularly. If your party constantly visits the same tavern, that is an amazing plot point that you can revolve around. You can have the tavern go through several changes because of this. You can have not only bar fights break out into it, you can have the tavern become a whole character, whether it being that maybe gets burnt down one day, and then it gets rebuilt into an entirely new thing. Maybe your party ends up owning their favorite tavern. There's so many different things that a tavern can become in TTRPGs. It can almost become the true home away from home for your players. And it doesn't even have to be the same location. Maybe it could be a franchise, maybe it's a chain, maybe it's a one-off. So many different things, and that is why taverns are such a beautiful location inside TTRPGs. They're everything. They are quite possibly the most important point in any TTRPG campaign. And so really, just remember to take some time with it. Plan it out. Think about how your tavern impacts the location when you make them. You don't have to put in grand detail into every single tavern that you put in your games, and you could have multiple taverns in a nearby vicinity. I mean, heck, here in England, we've got pubs up and down the street all the time. Are they all unique? No. That's just the way it is. And so, just focus on a few. If you really like an idea, there's no reason why you can't have that tavern just pop up, even in the middle of nowhere. Like, yes, it's important to think about the size and scale of the tavern depending on their location, but that doesn't mean that you can't have wizards running taverns where it just pops in and out of reality. Like, that's just a whole thing that you can do and would really make for a fun sort of mechanic inside a campaign. But I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it has inspired you. I hope it's given you some ideas of what you can do and what you should do for when you're running a tavern inside your next campaign. If you want to see more videos like this, or you want me to go into greater detail about taverns, please do write it down in the comments. Let me know. Share this video with your friends if you can. If you liked it, great. And if you want to see more, please give this channel a subscribe. Either way, that's been Taverns for now in TTRPGs, and I'll see you all when I see you all, my friends. Have a good one. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.